Hey everyone, it's Rob at Mr. Robot Shop. Today I'm going to kind of talk about something that's kind of near and dear into my heart. Radio Shack, as many of you know, probably has noticed that they've struggled over the last quite a few years here. And I saw in the news that over this past Memorial Day weekend they've closed about 1,000 stores. I think they're going to leave about 70 stores open, and that's corporate stores, and then probably around 500 of the franchise stores. Those are kind of up in the air right now as far as, you know, what's going to happen with those stores, but they're definitely tanking really bad. So, but the reason why I'm bringing this video up and you know, doing it is that I grew up in the 80s, 70s and 80s, and I remember going to Radio Shack, hanging out all the time, and it was just a place that you could go and kind of, I don't know, it was just really cool, you know, the stereos and the computers, car stereos, cordless phones, regular phones, all the little gadgets like the you know, electronic do-it-yourself kits. So the list goes on and on, obviously. And then when I grew up as a teenager, I would often just kind of hang out at the Radio Shack and help them sell my first computer that I got as a kid, the color computer. And I think, you know, my stores that I've got, I think if you kind of look, I mean, the upstairs I just showed you, obviously that was the museum section, but if you kind of look, there's a lot of things about the way that I've got my shop set up that kind of mirror what Radio Shack used to do, and still kind of does, I guess. But I'm gonna get this game going, turned down here. It's a little pinball game through Steam. So anyways, I'm really sad about what's going on and what happened, you know, in the retail world. And you know, you just kind of look at the pictures here at Radio Shack. These are some of the stores that are just pretty much gutted now. It's just sad, you know. I don't. It's like a person that you've known for a long time that just died. You know, that's the way I kind of feel about it. And I don't know. I was talking to my wife Kelly this morning, and you know, I said I don't really have anybody I can talk to about it because, you know, a lot of the I don't know that as many people had as much attachment to Radio Shack as I did, you know, given my history working there as long as I did as well, managing a lot of the stores, put myself through college. But it's just like a good friend that died, you know. That's really the way it feels. And I think, you know, all these retail closing and mall closings, I think that impacts us at some level that we just don't really understand. You know, all these businesses that are going closing their stores and people losing jobs. You know, those businesses were run by people, and you know, people are what make the business happen, right? And it's kind of sad that, you know, all the work and everything that we put in as a society, you know, can just be uprooted and destroyed in a relatively short period of time. You know, and I do realize that things change. You know, technology changes. You know, as I was glancing through, this is a 1982 catalog here. But I was glancing through here, you know, and there's a lot of things that just don't really have much meaning in the world that we live in today. You know, like cassette decks. Turntables are kind of making a comeback. You know, headphones are still there. Walkmans are essentially gone. You know, your stereos are still kind of there in some form. Big speakers, not so much. You know, it's they've been kind of replaced by these smaller things, and that's okay. I've got some huge speakers at home, and they will blow the doors off the house, literally. But I like loud music, so you're not going to get that with these little Bose all-in-one dealies. You know, the Bose stuff sounds good, but yeah, it's just not what it used to be. Excuse me. There's again your turntables that are kind of making a little bit of a comeback now. So I guess there's your receivers. CB radios, obviously, you know, no longer a viable thing. Scanners still are out there. So obviously, you know, a lot of things like alarm clocks, you know, probably don't need those anymore. You got your phones and tablets can wake you up now. TVs, those are kind of morphed from TV to something that you usually have in your hand or a laptop now. Radios really don't exist. Yeah, they do, but people aren't really, you know, usually if you want audio, you're going to get it through your internet connection now. RC toys and cars, handheld games, which again, all these can be, you know, pretty much dumped into one little iPhone now, which at some level is kind of sad because, you know, each individual game was very unique and very cool, and an iPhone is just a screen. You know, it's digitized. It's not, I don't say it's not real, but I think you get where I'm going with that. So I wanted to show you this little bit of this 1982 catalog here. So what did they do wrong? I think one could argue there's a lot of things that went wrong. Obviously the world changes around us. I do think that, you know, like they had the Dualphone product line, they had the Realistic product line. There's a Realistic scanner. They had the Realistic stereos, the Tandy computers. I think what happened is they literally dropped their own product line, and I think the die-hard followers of Radio Shack kind of gave up on Radio Shack when Radio Shack gave up on them. You know, you can they did it. I actually was a manager back then when they were kind of getting rid of their core product line and replacing it like with RCA and that kind of stuff. This is a sales flyer here real quick, just FYI. And they'd mail these to your home if you gave them your name and address, which people hated, but anyways. So a lot of people got kind of upset when they stopped carrying, they stopped manufacturing their own computers. They, you know, sold that business out to, I think, AST, which got bought out. They started carrying, like I said earlier, like RCA brand that you could buy like at Walmart and Best Buy. And you know, what's the point of that if I can get it cheaper at another store? Now, if I were Radio Shack, I would have kept the product line because they worked on them, repaired them, right? Now, obviously, that was kind of fading away a little bit because, you know, repairs were becoming a thing of the past. You know, things were becoming cheaper to buy than just repair. So, but I really think their short-sightedness with their product line and their greed for profitability made them fail. That's really what I believe. So now, obviously, companies have to make profit to stay in business, but for example, if you were to go into a Radio Shack, if they're, you know, being that there's still one open today, you want like an HDMI cable, well, you could buy one for, you know, $30, right? Well, you know, the problem is there's such a gap between $30 and you can buy one on eBay for, you know, $6 with free shipping. Now, granted, yes, you have to wait for the cable for a couple days usually, but, you know, for that price difference, you know, $30, I mean, the average person on minimum wage, you know, they're making you know, after taxes, you know, probably $7-8. I mean, that's like 3 hours of work for one silly cable, right? So of course, you know, people with not a lot of money are going to go to the path of least resistance, which is going to be cheaper online type stuff. Now, you know, I have HDMI cables, and mine are $12. So yes, I mark them up, but they're not as bad as Radio Shack, right? So there's got to be somewhere in between that, you know, makes a company money and still, you know, makes it so they're not alienating their own customers with too high a price. Here's a little handwritten receipt from 1982. This one actually was in the catalog that I got here from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I'm not gonna, there's first initial, it basically has the guy's address, 271 series. I think those are actually probably resistors right there. So anyways, you know, I'm kind of struggling with the closing of Radio Shack, but then I think at some level we have to look at it from a logical point of view. And you know, even my own business, being that it's retail, it ebbs and flows, and I'm struggling with the fact that, you know, computers are being kind of pushed out of the way slightly with, you know, cell phones and tablets. Obviously, you know, I've used a tablet, I've used a smartphone, and they definitely don't work as good as computers. They don't have the power, but just for the average person just kind of checking something real quick, they'll suffice, you know, and that's what we're kind of seeing here with the sales and repair end. So, you know, I'm struggling to kind of, you know, remake our brand and stay viable in this environment. You know, hopefully I don't take the path of Radio Shack, but I guess if I do, I do. I've been doing this for 18 years, and obviously I always think of it kind of like the horse and buggy manufacturer, right? Well, before the car came out, you had horse and buggy, and then automation and technology came, and you know, the horse and buggy guy lost his job, right? So he either adapted, or he retired, or he you know, took himself out, I guess. I don't know. I don't plan on doing that, but you know, a lot of times I think people, there's this gap between age and what you do for a living, and sometimes you fit right in that gap, and sometimes you know, like with me, you know, I timed it just right, and it wasn't my timing, it was actually just the year I was born and what I learned and what I knew to do was a good fit for the retail environment. And as I'm getting older, I mean, I'm almost 50, you know, I don't want to keep working the rest of my life. You know, I don't really, when I look out there, I don't really see a lot of things that I want to do, because I've been doing retail for so long. So anyways, I'm gonna grab this phone because it's a customer and I gotta take care of the customer. So I appreciate you guys watching. You guys take care.